All right, everybody, how's it going? I am working on something right now. I'm just applying some pink polyurethane to a large wood toy chest and a large oak wood toy chest I just built. And I'm applying my last coat right now to one of these, to one side, the inside of one side. I didn't mask off the other side to do anything with that yet. So, yeah, this is probably going to be it for the night. But that's not why I'm here making this video. I am here making this video to talk about the topic of true colors. Now, I made a video about this before, but I'm making a video about this again today because this is a very big topic, amongst people. These are things that people need to know. These are things that I wish most people live by, but at the same time, I understand why they don't or don't know how to, because being able to think like this requires a mindset of somebody that you would consider to be a realist, right? A realist is somebody who understands reality enough to where their understanding of reality and the way that it is becomes their source of power. Most people want power over everything. They want power over their spouse. They want power over their kids. They want power over their boss. They want power over their pastor. They want power over their congregation. They want power over their employees. But there's a way you get that without having to get at, without having to stir up what you have to stir up in order to do it by force or fear or, you know, like anything antagonistically. You know what I mean? You can have power in ways that won't even look like that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And that's true power when your power don't even look like power. You know what I mean? If you are clearly the source of power, you're at risk of somebody wanting to take it from you. But when you're not clearly the source of power, nobody even knows. Nobody knows how to get you. Nobody knows how to get to you. Nobody knows what makes you tick. Nobody knows what's very dear to you. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like you become a ghost and you walk through walls and you see everything X-ray vision, But what we need to understand is that the things that we dislike about people should not ever be considered as a person's true colors. Because somebody can be what you might call an acceptable person, a tasteful person, a reasonable person, a good person, a regular person, 99.9% of the time. And then that 0.01% of the time, let's just say they blew up and got mad. Let's just say they just showed up late. Let's just say they called off. Let's even say they told you a lie. You want to know what we would call them from that point on? A liar. And we would look at them as a liar based on the 99.9% of the time they didn't lie and the 0.01% of the time they did. But we never call them anything other than what we don't like. You want to know why I had to learn to stop doing this to people? Why I had to learn to stop looking at people for the flaws they have? Because Jesus said, "Judge not, lest ye be judged. For what measure you meet will be measured unto you." Now, I'm not one of them Christians that's always, trying to hide behind judge not in order to keep my wicked ways. That's not how I am. I know people do that. Every time you point out something wicked or something out of order or something crazy, the first thing people resort to is judge not. The Bible say don't judge. That's not me. Okay? I'm not one of them. But those of us who clearly understand this scripture don't talk about it enough, because the people who abuse the scripture talk about it too much, and we sound like we're being identified with them, and we just like to leave it alone. Just like, the love of God or the grace of God. People abuse preaching about the love of God and the grace of God, so that, to a point to where those of us who understand what the grace of God is and how the love of God works, we don't even want to talk about it, because we sound like we're being identified with that crowd. But I really think that it's time to actually start talking the truth about things that people tell lies about. Because one of these days, somebody's going to be on the internet and they're going to Google search or YouTube search, "Judge not lest ye be judged." And they're going to find all these false doctrines. And in the midst of all these false doctrines, they're going to stumble upon my channel. And they're going to get a clear understanding of why Jesus said that. I had to learn to stop holding people to such a high standard. That has freed me in ways that I didn't even notice. When I don't hold people to such a high standard, not that I expect little of anybody, but not that I don't want people to fulfill what they say they're going to do, not that I don't want people to play their part, or I don't expect people to play their role. It's just that I have to watch what kind of measuring stick I put up against another person. Because the one thing that I don't want, and I truly cannot afford personally, is I cannot afford to have a measuring stick up against another person higher than what I can be measured at. Because one of these days, God is going to judge every matter between you and every person. Every argument you've been in, God is going to point out who was right and who was wrong. Every misunderstanding you had between somebody, God is going to bring that up. Everything you expected of another person, God is going to bring that up. Everything you've said about another person, God is going to bring that up. But a lot of Christians, they don't even really think about judgment. Most Christians think nothing about Judgment Day. They go their whole life considering not one moment of what Judgment Day will look like. I consider the judgment every day of my life. The Bible says to work out your salvation with fear and trembling. How can you work it out with fear and trembling if you're not considering the judgment every moment of your life? That's something you need to learn how to do. Now, don't be sitting around stuck in the, like glued to the couch and don't want to make a single move, all because of the judgment. That's kind of how I was when I first when the Holy Spirit first came upon me. I hid in fear. Yes, I accepted the gospel, but I hid in fear of God because I've never been so scared in my life. All of a sudden, God comes upon me out the sky blue, and now I'm sorely afraid. I've never been that afraid ever in my life. I've been in the midst of fights where I got jumped and I wasn't even that scared. I've been threatened, I had my life threatened. I wasn't even that scared. Man, but that fear of God do something to a person when they truly have experienced that. And God is not all about you fearing him either. You know what I'm saying? Yes, that's part of it, but that ain't all of it. So I don't want to put this perspective of God in your mind that ain't the whole story, all because that's all I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, right? Don't be too quick to judge the things I say based on one topic I'm talking about, because if you look at some of my other videos, I might clear up what I'm saying a lot better somewhere else. It's just that I can't get into full detail about every one thing in every one video. And sometimes people, they misinterpret what I might mean by what I'm saying based on a lack of information that they didn't have as far as why I said what I said. And then and then and then they put two and two together themselves and then accuse me of what they just came up with. Like, it happens like that all the time. I'll be brief on one topic and people would judge me because I wasn't all the way clear about that. Like, I I can't stand that. I give everybody the grace I want. I do. I had a person who basically tried to make me out to be a false prophet because of how I viewed the rapture, and tried to make me sound like I'm a child of the devil because of my point of view on the rapture that is actually scriptural. And I also say we don't know the whole story about how the rapture going to take place. And they filling in the blanks themselves about me and the rapture. And I specifically said that I'm not here to divide against believers who believe in pre-tribulation rapture. I understand why people think that. Maybe it was my attitude. But I gave I handed grace first and said, hey, I'm not here to call anybody a fake Christian because they believe in pre-trib rapture. You could be doing better than I am and just believe pre-trib rapture. You could believe pre-trib rapture and get more rewards in heaven than me. And I could absolutely be right about the fact that pre-trib rapture is not biblical. I could still be right about that, and you could still have more favor with God than me. So let's stop doing that. Let's quit trying to call each other children of the devil because of things we don't really investigate fully. You know what I'm saying? I'm not quick to make somebody of the devil. I'm not. Why? Because I hate it when people are quick to make me of the devil. The one time I do one thing that they didn't really like, that's all I ever was to them. I could have done them favor after favor. Loaning $10 every week. Said yes every time you needed me. And the one thing I did that you didn't like becomes all I ever was. We gotta stop doing people like that, y'all. Because how would you feel if God specifically said, be ye perfect as I am perfect, and you sit around glorying in your own flaws? But you want God to love you and you know you ain't perfect. But yet everybody got to be perfect to you. This is a very important thing, y'all. The way you measure other people will be the way you get measured. And we cannot afford. There are two things we can't afford, right? Just because of that, we can't afford to lower our standards to a point to where we let anything go. But also, we got to be careful that we're not putting people up against a measuring stick that's taller than us, ourselves. I don't carry a measuring stick taller than me, but Jesus does. Every time I read his word, I realize I need help. Every time I read his word, I'm like, man, I hope I make it in. Dang. Man, the Bible specifically says this, and I know that ain't me. Oh. And yet the Holy Spirit still speaks to me all the time. I mean, not all day long, all the time, but I mean, he never let me go. After all my mistakes, after all my flaws, after all the times I got smart with him. Lord. He don't deserve that either, man. He really don't. He don't deserve our attitude problems because of our trials. And he don't deserve for us to be beating each other down because we ain't perfect. God don't deserve that. He said, what you have done to the least of these, you've done it unto me. What you did to that person who couldn't help themselves, you did that to me, he said. What you did to your husband, you did it to me. What you said to your wife, you said that to me. If they are made over in the image of God. And we got to think about that, y'all. How you beat up other people over what they don't do right all the time. And sometimes you could be wrestling with God and don't even know that's what you're doing. All because the person is the only thing you see. And sometimes you don't even know that God be letting stuff like that happen. He could make somebody be forgetful. Just like he hardened Pharaoh's heart on purpose, he could harden somebody's heart toward you. He could soften somebody's heart toward you. He could make somebody not have much of a heart or a heart against you. He can make somebody forget to call. He can literally put stuff in people's path that would totally distract them away from calling you back, just to see how you gonna respond, just for you to see your struggles that you need to go to prayer about. He can do that. Sometimes we wrestle with God when we wrestle with other people over their struggles, over the stuff we don't like about them, over the mistakes they made. We don't even know that's what be happening. Every calamity in your life, every misunderstanding you go through is not always the devil. It's not always because of a bad thing. If you got employees, you just hired your first 5 people ever in your life. 2 of them called off, 2 of them showed up late, and 1 of them came to work high, showed up on time. God could have let that happen to you. Not made them want to do all that, but let it happen to you. Just to see. How will you treat them when you're the one in charge now? Will you treat them the way I treated you when you wasn't perfect, when you did wrong, knowing it was wrong? How will you treat them? Let me see what you do when the ball's in your court. Gotta consider that, man. You gotta make every move wise. Real wise, especially when it comes to how you deal with other people. You don't want to be guilty of doing wrong unto God because of how you done other people. God could have had a blessing lined up for somebody else through you, and you refused because of your snobby ways. You just never know. You never know. But a person's true colors is how they are all the time, not how they were 1 or 2 times. We got to consider the good things that people do, the good qualities they have. And let's just say you hearing me say this, you automatically know I was going to say that, right? But I also want to say this. You could also use people's bad qualities to your advantage. You do know that, right? Sometimes people's ways work out for you. Sometimes people's wicked ways work out for you. They do. You can use stuff like that to get your way in certain matters. You can always count on people to be who they are all the time. And if who they are all the time is not right, that could be, like that could be used to your advantage. But it's all about how you deal with people, man. I'm not talking about using people. All I'm saying is you got what you got. Play your hand. What you have is what you have. Play your hand wisely. Who you have is who you have. Play your hand wisely. Hold on to what you have. Make do with what you have. Make do with who you have. Work with them. Be patient, kind. But judge righteously too. Because if you don't know how to judge righteously, you won't know how to guide people in the right direction. You can teach people how to treat you. You do know that, right? You can teach them how to treat you. Just like God taught me how to treat him. I didn't know how to treat the Lord. I was scared of him. All my life, I thought God was like, this big bad judge who can't wait to find reasons to send people to hell. I really did feel like that about God my whole life. As if all he is somebody who put us here on earth just to look for reasons to put us all in hell. I promise you, I thought like that about God my whole life. And that's when I wasn't saved, though. When I did get saved, I was so embarrassed at the fact that I even felt like that about him. But I was still scared of him, though. I was scared of him because I haven't realized his love yet. I haven't matured in love yet. I started this thing off day one in fear and trembling. I went home and made amends with everybody. He showed me all my sins. He revealed to me the debt that I have to repay. I'm not just getting away with all the damage I've done in this world. I owe that. I got blood on my hands. There's people I helped destroy. And he loved me enough to say, follow me. I'll take it from here. Man, I ain't know how to feel about that, man. I'm like, how you gonna sit here and show me how much of a devil I am and then ask me to come with you? I mean, before I know it, you might be throwing me in hell anyway. Like I was so confused. I just didn't get that. Like I ain't get it. I learn to treat people like that. When people got wicked ways about them, I don't always choose to discard them unless they're totally unworkable, unless they're totally unpleasable, unless they're totally implacable, meaning can't be peaceful, refuse to be peaceful. To people that refuse to be peaceful, I have to get rid of them. There's no other, there's nothing else I can do. And most of the time, I don't even get rid of them. They get rid of themselves for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you can always use people's wicked ways to an advantage that work for you. People that refuse to be peaceful, they'll be quick to cut you off. You won't even have to stir up a hard feeling and be the one to do it. You don't even gotta give them something negative to remember about you through you cutting them off. They'll do it for you. And when they start thinking about you and realizing the wrong they did, at least you know you didn't create a situation for them to feel like they can't come back and apologize. Because they personally know that they're the ones who cut you off, not you cutting them off. It's easier for a person to right their wrongs when you don't partake in the wrong too. When you got a misunderstanding with somebody and somebody saying things that they shouldn't say about you, it's easier for them to come back and apologize if you don't also say things that you shouldn't say to them about them. But that's hard. That's real hard. That takes skill. I mean, you got to have enough arguments in your life to learn how to do that. God heard me say that. Let me guess, I'm going to have one today, right? He got to qualify everything I talk about. That always happens to me whenever I talk about something. Man, sometimes he'll make darn sure that's a situation I go through that same day just to see if I'm a hypocrite or not. It happens all the time, I promise you. I can't just stand here and tell truth that I'm not willing to stand in because it will be due. You know what I'm saying? That bill is gonna be due. All right, now I heard you talk about that, but last I remember you weren't even good at that yourself. Let me see if you got what it take the way you telling other people to do that. Happens all the time. And it also happens when you hold other people to a higher standard than what you are willing to keep. You want people to do for you, but what do you do for others? You want people to be peaceful with you, but how often are you peaceful with others? You want people to be loving and kind to you, but how often are you loving and kind to others? You're going to struggle with that your whole life until you learn how to be what it is you want from everybody else. Ain't nothing worse than somebody who is not what they want from everybody else. You want love from everybody else, but you are snobby. You're going to be wanting your love from everybody else your whole life until you realize I need to be that first. That's why I'm all like I can't say I'm always, but I at least try to be. I try my best to be quick to give everybody the grace I want, even when I know they don't deserve it, even when I know they're gonna abuse it, even when I know that they don't even believe the fact that I am being patient with them. I still do it because that's the cross I gotta carry. I gotta carry that cross. I don't want to give everybody grace. I don't want to be patient with people. People crazy. Then God is like, well, according to my standard, you crazy too. You just not crazy according to them, but you crazy according to me. So if you can't do unto others as you would want done unto you, then like what's the point of you even wanting my grace? And I can't be without that. I'm sorry, man. I used to be real hard on my kids. I used to yell all the time, cussing all day long. They wouldn't allow to make noise and be a kid without me. Ah, shut up, quiet down. Man, I got saved. All that changed. All that changed. If the house messy, it's messy. Kids, man, we clean it up at the end of the night. No big deal. They'll grow up. Heck, that's what we get. I ain't about to beat them up because they left toys out. People live here, you know? You know what I'm saying? People actually live here. You know, we not staging this place for, viewings and, for somebody to come buy it. Like, no, people live here, you know? I had to learn to just start looking at stuff like that. Kids weren't allowed to make one mess. I'm like, man, go ahead and make your mess, bro. Have your fun. And I'll show you how to clean it up. Go ahead, man. Make your mess. Do your thing, bro. I ain't worried about that. Now, what I will be worried about is if you refuse to pick it up. Now, that's different. Heck, you want to play with Play-Doh on the dinner table? Go ahead, man. But make sure you know how to clean it up. Don't get it on the carpet. Man, one thing I hated, man, was that kinetic sand. Like, no, don't give my kids that. No, that kinetic sand is a nightmare. I don't want nothing to do with it. Oh man, let's peel this tape off. I want to show y'all what I'm working on for my daughter. Oh, I knew I was gonna do that. That's why I don't like depending on masking tape, man. I just don't. Maybe I should have done a fourth coat. I'm probably gonna remask this anyway. Let me show y'all what I got. And don't look at how dirty my shop is. People actually work here. But this is 100% oak wood. It's not done yet. I still gotta finish all the trim. And these boards, each board I use is 3/4 inch thick. It's sold as a 1-inch thick, but it's actually 3/4. This pink is water-based poly. And the outside is oil-based poly. The inside, the rest of the inside I'm not done with yet. But that's for my 2-year-old baby, for her to put all her toys in. This is an expensive box, I kid you not. She better keep this forever. This costs more than all of her toys combined. And guess what? I didn't even pay what it was worth, to be honest. Like, I done the math on all this wood. It's just like $400 or $500 worth of wood. For it to be oak and, like 1-inch thick. Technically 3/4. Yeah. It was crazy. That's my leftover wood right there. That's all I got. But still, y'all, man. Still. Man, people take pride in what they can do for their kids. I'm not going to lie to you. People really do. They take a lot of pride in what they can do for their kids. And I'm one of them people. Like, I'm not a proud person by any means, but I still take pride in what I can do for my daughter. Even if it took me a week to do it, and that whole week I wouldn't really interface all like that and stuff like that. All that time is technically going on her. It's just that because it's not time with her, it's not looked at like that by everybody. You know what I'm saying? It might not be looked at like that by her. She's 2. She probably ain't sitting around counting it. Man, but still, we need to learn to be long suffering as Christ himself was. If you don't have the ability to suffer long, you need to get saved. You don't have the ability to be patient, you need to get saved. If you don't have the ability to have meekness, you need to get saved. If you don't have the ability to give people a grace that you want from God, you need to get saved. I'm not going to say it no better than that. You need to go get saved. Yeah, but I am saved. Listen, go get saved. Go get saved, man. Stop kidding yourself. I get it. You like church. I get it. But lacking all that God said is the fruit of the Spirit, that's a clear indication that you need to go get saved. Stop being a church person and go get saved. You didn't come to Christ, you came to church. Go get saved. So many people are neglecting the fact that they need to seek the Lord for the Holy Ghost because they thought that my coming to church is me getting saved. I don't need to do nothing else but come back next Sunday. A lot of people make your Christianity all based on how often you come to church. I hate that. I hate it. I despise that. Now somebody hear me say that and they say, that man said he despised coming to church. Like, you see, like, that's how people think. See, people, like, people's mind work like that. I don't know why. It's like, now you done took part of what I said, added something else to it, and then accused me of what you just came up with. People do that to me all day long on YouTube, y'all. If you ever look at some of my YouTube comments, like, people that don't make no sense will be trying to make me look crazy. And I'm like, you're not even making valid sense. I mean, like, never mind making biblical sense. You're not making sense, period. And you telling me I'm crazy? And you can't even spell? I mean, you posting all these scriptures in my comments that ain't got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Nothing to do with that. I mean, here it is. I'm talking about, I'm talking about Judgment Day. And you want to bring up Genesis. Like, I mean, here it is. I'm talking about Judgment Day, and you want to talk about Abraham and the tithe. Like, man, get out of here with all that, man. Man, people do that to me all day long. I don't get grace from these so-called Christians that be in my comments on YouTube. It's like everybody is quick to try to make me the devil. Why? Like, why is it like that? I mean, how come everybody is so quick to want me to be the evil person? And here it is. I don't have no intention but to tell the truth. I'm not a YouTube partner. I don't sell ads. I'm not even trying to be one of them. If I became big enough on YouTube, fine. But I don't have no agendas here. I have nothing to win. I have nothing to gain. I have no reason to lie. None. Like, what am I getting out of spending my time recording these videos to lie to you? Most people that lie are probably getting paid. And they need to make more and more videos so that they can sell more and more ads. And the more and more you heard from, the more and more likely you're going to say something wrong. The more and more you talking, the more and more likely you're going to say something wrong. Like, that's why I don't try to let people make me argue with them. So, like, I get it. If the talk is important, it's important. I'm going to say what needs to be said. I'm not going to discuss it in 30 other different ways. I said what I said. Why do we need to carry on? I apologize. I admitted to being wrong. Why do we need to keep carrying on? Why do you keep needing to bring up yesterday? I'm not here to talk about yesterday. I'm here to solve the problem. Because the more and more you heard from, the more and more you say, the more and more likely you are to say something wrong. And God said he'll do what? Judge you for every idle word you say. Every idle word you say, you will be judged on. Every single last one of them. That's scary, man. I mean, think about all the little racial slurs you said about black people amongst your white friends. And you think because no black person heard it that that means that you weren't that you weren't wrong for having that in your heart. Think about all the racist stuff you said about white people when you was amongst your Caucasian, your Hispanic family members, and you think God takes that lightly because that's in your heart about people that He made. Think about all the stuff you said about, you know, just anybody, man. Like, we need to remember we'll be judged on our words. Stop having so many debates with people, man. I mean, once you come to the realization of judgment, a judgment that will pass on everybody, man, you quit talking to people, man. I ain't about to be slipping up in somebody's gossip on accident. Man, you end up joining in on the gossip on accident. Nah, I ain't got time for no slip ups like that. I'm cool. Man, once you aware of some things, for what measure you meet will be measured unto you. Like, you deal with people differently. And you'll realize it'd be very few people that'll want to deal with you the way you deal with everybody else. It'll make you feel like you alone in this world. For real. Like, it'll make you feel like the only person that care. It make you feel like the only person with a heart or a mind at that. Man, you will get even church folks that won't treat you the way they want God to treat them. You gotta think about stuff like that, man. Do you treat people the way you want God to treat you? You so quick to get rid of somebody because what they ain't got and what they don't do. And say, okay, I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna remember that. We need to watch it, man. We really do. And yeah, I get it, man. We do got to make sense out of who we choose to deal with, too. You know, because sometimes other people's problems can become ours, and those can become problems that we can't afford. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, I understand that part of it, too. Like, I wasn't born yesterday. But like I said, man, like being a realistic thinking person, you would start seeing that some people are here to intertwine you in their problems, and that is the very reason why the devil sent them on your path, is to entangle you into the affairs of their life. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that do happen, so like we got to find a balance in that somewhere. I'm a man of balance when it comes to how I deal with people. I can say something and do the opposite, and you would be thinking like that was contradicting. I'm like, no, it was a different, it's all about context of how I choose to deal with it. But some people don't really need you. Like, some people want you because they really need the Lord, and they don't want the Lord, so they just trying to put you in place of Him. You get friends like that. They need to talk to you every day. Like, dude, pray. Like, why you calling me every day? Like, why don't you spend some time in prayer? Leave me alone. Go live your life. I'll still be here to be your friend, but I ain't trying to just be chit chatting every day. Like, I got work to do. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, man? Hey, you need somebody to talk to, man. Get on your knees in prayer. I'm sure you could use an awful lot of it. But we waste our time. We don't spend time praying, which is a really big waste of our time. Not praying is a very, very, very big deal. Because your time in prayer is your time in communication with the person you say that you're in a relationship with. And then you get mad when somebody you're in a relationship with don't communicate with you that much, but you in a relationship with God and don't communicate with him at all. Like, see, those the kind of things I'm talking about here, man. It's like, look, we deal with people in ways that we don't want God dealing with us. And it's sad. It'll be a rude awakening on Judgment Day when he judged all matters between you and every person, and you discovered you were really the crazy one. I gotta double check if I'm just wrong. Like, I'm like, man, like, am I, like, I know I'm not crazy, but am I really that wrong for real? Like, did I actually do what they're saying? Did I actually not do what they're saying? Like, I mean, like, am I really that bad? Like I gotta sit there and think, like, and then I have to, like, I start putting all the details together. I'm like, man, they full of the devil. But you notice, I wasn't quick to make them full of the devil. I examined myself first. And when I examine myself first, then I go and examine the person. I hear what people say. I consider it. But that don't mean that I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't mean I'm going to live by it. I just heard what you said. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, no big deal. Man, because some people, man, like, they're trying to work witchcraft on you, man, and make you believe stuff about you that ain't even true. All you got to do is go down my YouTube comments and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of people be trying to work that witchcraft on all because they quoting scriptures. I guess they're right that I'm evil. It's like, man, get that out of here, man. But witches use the Bible as a talisman when they're casting spells. You know that, right? It's always somebody trying to bring the Bible into the witchcraft they're trying to work on me. Well, your Bible says you're supposed to do this. I'm like, well, how often do you do what the Bible say? And now you're trying to bind me to the Bible to get your way? Just for that, no. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not about to work that magic on me, man. And here it is. I call that witchcraft. Somebody think it's not. It is. A lot of people do you like that. They'll try and use the Bible as a way to bind you to something that they want out of you. And they don't even live by the Bible. They just trying to use what you believe on you to get what they want out of you. People are like that. People are really like that, for real. Don't think people ain't like that. But there are more people like that than you think. All you got to do is stay saved long enough. You'll run into it. I promise you. But the devil will not hesitate to put one of them folk in your path. But in fact, expect it. It will happen. You got to get through that test right there. Sometime you do have to kind of go around what people are trying to say the Bible said you ought to do because of why they trying to say it. Like, you know what I mean? Okay, like for an example, right? Back in the slavery days, they would try to say, slaves, obey your masters like this Bible says. So now pick my cotton for nothing for the rest of your life. And let me rape your sons and daughters. And you can eat pig intestine for dinner. Nah, man. I'm not obeying you. Nope. I'm going to do exactly what that Bible say not to do. In this case, I am. And you know what? God will be looking at me like, that's a smart man. It ain't that he disobeying the word. He just making sense. I mean, he ain't doing that to go against the Bible. He's doing that because it makes sense. See, people would try stuff like that on you. You know what I'm saying? And here it is. The Bible don't even condone slavery. It just worded it that way because of how they worded, you know, indentured servants, people who had masters over them that they worked for so that they can be taken care of. You know, there were rich people back in the day who needed to be able to have people work for them so that way they can continue to stay rich. And some people was like, hey, if you promise to take care of me the rest of my life, I'll work for you. I'll work in your house. Heck, look, can I stay here? I do everything you need as long as I can eat at the end of the night. As long as I got a bed. As long as I have water. As long as I have food. As long as I got clothes. I'll be your servant. It's like, all right. That's kind of like, that's what that was. And you would have somebody, nah, that Bible say that if you a slave, you need to obey your master. So now come here, slave, and let me whip you one time, all because you looked at my woman. Like, man, all right, I thought she was pretty, but I ain't like, you know, I ain't lost after her or nothing like that. I just looked at her, thought she was pretty. I mean, she walked up out of nowhere, kind of scared me too. Nah. Nah, man, I'd rather die than be somebody's slave. You're gonna have to kill me. For real. I'm gonna make you kill me. If you don't do it willingly, I'll make you. I'll be the first to put a knife up to your neck just so that way you can cut my throat and put me out of my misery. Here it is. I ain't even got the intention to kill you. I'm gonna make you do it for me. I'm gonna make you kill me for me. I'm about to be nobody. Slave. But people will try and use the Bible to make you a slave, man. But then guess what? They won't hold themselves to that same standard. They just want to hold you to it. People will do that, man. You got to make sure you ain't doing that to other people. Holding people to what the Bible say. And here it is. That's a standard you don't even keep. That's crazy. So we got to watch how we do people, y'all. But other than that, I got to get out of here. I'm hungry. I've been in this shop all freaking day looking at this box. I'm tired of it. I can't wait to get it in the house and throw toys in it. But it's probably going to be, excuse me, another couple days. So, peace.